The December evening air was crisp with winter chill as Daniel Carter walked toward his car after another long day at Carter Enterprises. At 42 years old, Daniel had turned his consulting firm into one of the most successful companies in the region. But that night, his mind was focused on the quarterly reports awaiting him at home, not the scene unfolding at the bus stop across the street. What he saw there would change his perspective on the true meaning of success and the responsibilities that come with it. A young woman in medical scrubs sat slumped on a bench, visibly exhausted, struggling to stay awake. She looked to be in her 20s, with dark hair falling over her face as she nodded off in the cold. Her blue scrubs and white coat marked her as a healthcare professional. The fatigue etched into her features suggested she had pushed herself far beyond her limits. Daniel paused at his car, watching as other pedestrians hurried by without appearing to notice the exhausted young woman. Something about the image deeply disturbed him, not just the sight of someone so tired she could hardly stay upright at a bus stop, but what it implied about the working conditions that led to such exhaustion. As Daniel stood there, she stirred weakly, shivering despite her coat. She glanced at her phone, seemingly realizing she had fallen asleep, and looked around in the dazed confusion of someone more drained than they realized. Daniel made a decision that felt both necessary and right. He approached the bench slowly, not wanting to alarm her. "Excuse me," Daniel said gently. "Are you all right? It's awfully cold to be waiting out here." The woman looked up with tired brown eyes, trying to focus despite her exhaustion. "I'm fine, thank you. Just waiting for the bus home." "How long have you been waiting?" Daniel asked, noticing her continued shivering. "I'm not really sure," she admitted, embarrassed. "I think I dozed off. I just finished a 16-hour shift at the hospital. Sometimes the fatigue just hits you all at once." Daniel felt a tightness in his chest. 16 hours? That's an incredibly long shift. The woman gave a faint, weary smile. "I'm Dr. Alicia Rivera. I'm a resident at City General. During our residency, those kinds of hours are just part of the training. Some days are tougher than others." "I'm Daniel Carter," he said, introducing himself. "Dr. Rivera, this might seem forward, but would you allow me to drive you home? It doesn't seem safe for you to travel in this state." Alicia clearly hesitated, weighing her exhaustion against the precautions of accepting help from a stranger. "You're very kind, Mr. Carter, but I wouldn't want to be a burden." "It wouldn't be a burden at all," Daniel replied sincerely. "I'd feel better knowing you got home safe." During the 20-minute drive to Alicia's modest apartment, Daniel learned about the reality of medical residency, a reality he had never truly considered before. Alicia explained the demanding schedules residents faced, the financial strain of medical school debt, and the sheer dedication required to continue training while caring for patients. "Most people don't realize," Alicia said, as they drove through quiet streets, "that residents often work 80 to 100 hours a week, earning less than minimum wage per hour. We do it because we love medicine and want to help others, but it's physically and emotionally draining." Daniel found himself thinking about his own employees, the priority he placed on work-life balance, and how vastly different Alicia's world was from his corporate environment. "Dr. Rivera," Daniel said as they reached her apartment, "I hope you won't mind if I ask about the conditions residents face at City General. Not to pry, but to understand if the community could somehow help." Alicia looked at him, surprised. "That's very thoughtful, Mr. Carter. Most people don't think about what goes on behind the scenes in hospitals." What Daniel learned in the following weeks would profoundly change his understanding of the support or lack thereof that medical professionals received during their training. Daniel began researching the conditions faced by medical residents nationwide and discovered that Alicia's experience was, unfortunately, typical. Long shifts, minimal pay, limited resources for basic needs like transportation, and meals during long hours. But Daniel didn't stop at just understanding the issues. He took action. 3 months later, he announced the creation of the Carter Foundation for Healthcare Professionals, an organization dedicated to providing practical support to medical residents and nurses in training. The foundation provided transportation tokens for healthcare workers during night shifts, meal programs for hospital staff with extended hours, emergency financial aid for residents with unexpected expenses, and comfortable rest areas in hospitals for staff between shifts. But the most innovative program Daniel launched was the Housing for Health Heroes initiative, which offered affordable, safe housing options specifically for medical residents and nursing students located near major hospitals with reliable public transport access. "Mr. Carter," Alicia said one day when she called to thank him 6 months after the foundation launch, "I can't believe you did all this just because you saw me sleeping at a bus stop." "Dr. Rivera," Daniel replied, "seeing you that night made me realize that, as a community, we have a responsibility to care for those who care for us when we're at our most vulnerable." Alicia later became one of the founding members of the Foundation's Advisory Council, helping to shape programs that responded to the real needs of healthcare workers, not just what outsiders assumed they needed. 2 years later, when health magazines featured the Carter Foundation's innovative approach to supporting medical training, they focused on the practical programs and the measurable improvements in residents' well-being. But Daniel always smiled when reading those articles, knowing the real story was far simpler and far more human. Sometimes the most important business decisions aren't made in boardrooms. They're made at bus stops on cold winter evenings, when we realize those who care for our community need care themselves. And sometimes, the best investment we can make isn't in stocks or bonds, but in ensuring that the heroes working to heal others have the support they need to continue their vital work. Alicia kept a photo of the Foundation's first anniversary celebration on her desk, not out of pride, but as a reminder. A reminder that communities thrive when people look out for one another, and that sometimes a single act of compassion can spark changes that help thousands. And the Foundation kept expanding, reaching neighboring cities to support more healthcare professionals. Yet its core mission remained the same: to ensure that those who dedicate their lives to caring for others receive the community support they deserve so they can focus on what they do best: healing and helping those in need.